You can get through that door there now that you got the chisel. Aye. Snow. Lots more snow. And then the end of the bloody world, in that approximate order. Quite right. Safe to breathe for a time, but it'll kill if we linger. Just one more reason to love Niflheim. Didn't think it would be that easy. Never leaves my mind. Incredible. I'd heard rumours of a powerful dwarf ruling over some poor sods not far from here. Not that you asked me. Therefore, we flipped the temple. The logic is unassailable. At least we're not on the side of the bridge where those visions will torture us. Hrimthur, son of Thamur. Aye, precisely. And oh, would he ever revenge himself upon Freya? Oh? When did I stop making sense? Do hurry back, please. Look at all this. The amount of arcane knowledge hidden between these walls. If you're thinking about hurling us all into the void, I hope you're quite sure. I can't watch, brother. Good luck. Let your father think. Well, you're getting stronger all the time. Your father was Zeus? I finally understand. I'm dangling from the hip of the bloody ghost of Sparta. Well, if you see any more shrines about, you can always ask. Oh dear, have you broken? Oh yes. Well, what happened after Hrungnir fell slain upon Thor was that nobody in the court could get the stone body off of him. Starkath, the mighty eight-armed giant, had surrendered in hopes to clear his name, and Thor responded by tearing him limb from limb. And for the record, I'd already guessed you were Greek. Athena? Dead giveaway. If you recall, Skadi, the queen of the hunt, was being courted by Odin himself. Ah, Fafnir. Always wondered what became of him. Look, bit of a long shot, but for years I'd see Sindri, sometimes Brock, lurking around in that mountain when Odin came for his visits. Maybe they know something. Yes, lad. Look, would you rather it didn't? Does your life want for lack of time spent bridge pushing? No? All right then. Trust the recently liberated, brother. No one deserves to be held captive like this. Even a greedy little dwarf come dragon. Brother, are you feeling all right? I did, lad. But I've known more than my share of gods. I'm just saying, priorities. You take a wrong turn, brother. Realm travel room's back up top. Those blades must indeed be hot to burn hell's bramble. Now take the shortcut back to the Realm Travel Temple, then on to Helheim, yeah? Not as such, but it sounds like the Fire Giant's training ground, where he kept himself in fighting shape for Ragnarok. Brother, up there! The winds of hell! Proud Thormur hoped to one day pass his vast knowledge on to his son. But young Hrimthur had the heart of a warrior. Wouldn't it be nice to find some incense just once? The smell of brimstone gets old quickly. Baldur is blessed with invulnerability to all threats, physical or magical. I'm sure Sindri would understand and do the same, lad. Don't fret. When the hammer was produced as the wedding dowry, Thor revealed himself. Okay then. Careful, lads. She cast a powerful spell that hurtled them both out of Jotunheim with no means of return. Good thinking, brother. Muspelheim, Niflheim, Sigrun would have no qualm with interning her Valkyries outside of Midgard. Aye, but Odin and Fjorgun's love was true. Those chains are not apt to break themselves. Then we'll have to stop her. The Valkyries must be freed, and we're the only ones capable. His destiny is to fall at the hands of Thor and Odin, but in so doing, strike the blow that leaves their realm in ash and ruin. And from that destruction, the world can be born anew. Until then, alone he waits in Muspelheim, never sleeping, ever honing his fiery blade, brave, generous sort, who knows he lives but to his doom. Oh my, yes, many, many gods. Well, who knows? Perhaps you and Tyr are the same kind of mad. Only the last living giant in Midgard. Who better to tell us the way? And so, he knew I'd outwitted him, called the lesson wisdom, and hired me to make sure from then on I was on his side. And for a long, long time I truly was. Doesn't mean he didn't hold a grudge. His army come Ragnarok. The entire reason Valhalla exists, you see. The Einherjar wait in the Great Hall endlessly, feasting, drinking, and fornicating themselves silly. Once Ragnarok begins, Odin calls them into service to fight on his behalf. Geirdriful had her hands full training that lot. Well, I'm not sure that's the lesson. Well then, clearly you've been listening. Only a fire giant could be at home here. And according to prophecy, we won't see them again till Ragnarok. I can start again later. Go ahead and lock in Jotunheim and we'll be on our way. Probably. Aye, for a while it truly wasn't. That part's true at least. Now the heart, brother. You'll have to get your hands dirty. Oh, well, we'll circle back to that later. What exactly did he want to know? Well, this was when the Long War was young, when victory was still a thing dreamed of, and the Jotnar might have tipped the balance between Aesir and Vanir. Ah, it's the other kind. Variety is so important. I didn't want to believe it either, milady, but we have to find her. Well, who do you think's going to watch your back? Then Thor shows up. And does he laugh? Oh, no. Thor takes one look at the drunken stone buffoon and brings down Mjolnir on his head so hard that he's got chunks of Hrungnir in his own skull to this day. Aye, but the winds of hell will not endure long enough to cover that distance. The wedding of Freya and Thrym the Cunning was interrupted when Thor recovered his hammer and commenced a slaughter of legendary proportions. Freya's temple. The ring is just as beautiful as I'd remembered. Bits of him, yes. Brother, the chisel. But Odin's true face showed itself again in the end. Oh, he won Freya's trust, and she taught him some of her Vanir magic, another choice she would live to bitterly regret. Do you want to feed me something and see what happens? When Odin caught word of her ultimate prophecy, he manoeuvred to obtain her knowledge and hoard it for himself. Milady, please tell us. Why were you in this physical form? Why fight us? I don't know what we'll find when we get to Jotunheim, but we must cover our tracks. Odin's ravens will tell him of the tower's restoration, and we mustn't let our efforts be to his benefit. Oughtn't we leave well enough alone, brother? A fair point. When she collected her quarry, she found no eagle at all, but her own father, poor Thiazi, slain by his own daughter. The Aesir gods were as powerful a force as I'd come across, but they clearly lacked for strategy, focus, and sage counsel. Aye, Laddie, up on the wall there. This, my friends, is Kara. Now, Valkyries are volatile by nature, but Kara, the lass is wild storm personified. And again, the roars of laughter echo through the palace halls. Ah, good. The special chisel is ahead, past this gate. Well, she blames me in large measure for her present circumstances, and not totally without reason. And that day shall be Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods. Only she could say for certain, but I've had many moons to work it out. Though I quite agree. Unless, perhaps, he refers to something yet to be. It is said that when Jormungandr and Thor battle at Ragnarok, their clash so violently shakes the tree of life that it splinters, casting the serpent backward through time, even before his own birth. It all goes back to the long war between the Aesir and Vanir. Let's see, my first job. Right. Me and my mates had the run of the forest, as long as we kept the fairy king amused. We were just starting the tale of the giant Bergelmir. I'm glad you asked, actually. I have just the story for you. Ahem. A loving gift from the giants. Since I used to do so much travelling between realms, they thought it would be more convenient for me than having a crystal I could lose. There he gives Hrungnir his fill of mead, and goads him into all manner of boasts and antics, all for the amusement of the court. Glad that's over. The fate of the Valkyries, lad. A more worthy endeavour there is not. Of the Aesir, aye. But his reach is not unlimited, and where he cannot reach, he is preoccupied with going. He certainly tortured me enough about it over the years. Hrimthur knew that Freya loathed the Aesir, despite her marriage to Odin, and I believe he gave her the secret to Asgard's defences. Brother, the way to Jotunheim's back in the realm travel room. What were we into then? Oh, the revenge plot of Hrimthur, the stonemason's son. More than water. The mystic lifeblood of something entirely new. From this water, Ymir took form and became a being of pure creation and chaos, mother and father to all that came after. This is Rota, a chooser of the slain. I'm certain of it. It's all coming back now. Though it was the Aesir who thought themselves so superior that they should hold dominion over the rest of creation. If Brock's been messing at it again, best leave it be. Reality is unstable enough. I can say with utmost certainty that I've never laid eye on a stranger set of objects in my life. I see you brought company this time. Must be important if the sons of Thor deign to grace me with their presence. Tell me, you two still tripping over yourselves to impress Daddy? I do. He felt responsible for the suffering visited upon them by Odin. I suspect he had something to do with helping them cover their tracks. Gunnar, mistress of war. After any conflict, big or small, she would be first on the scene, sussing out the worthy spirits for a free trip to Valhalla. A gruesome task, but she took great pride in it. Most impressive, brothers. Let me guess. There's a Valkyrie in here. Aye, lad, but at least we know where to find Sigrun. We'll just start that one again later, yeah? Take caution, lads. A Valkyrie in the flesh. I can't think of a more formidable opponent. Not even a bit. They're just elves of another colour. Nobody knows who came first, but they all come from Alfheim. No, those neither. And so she joined the hunt. Nothing good, lad. Oh, no, this is considerably worse. Lovely to see you too, Sindri. He's convinced the giants hold the key to changing his fate when Ragnarok comes. They are the Aesir's oldest enemies, after all, and it's their army that's supposed to do him in the end. But more than that, he covets their gifts of prophecy. He wants to know what they know and see what they see. So much suffering could have been avoided if his insatiable curiosity was not so much stronger than his wisdom. No doubt some arcane magics were involved. I would be not at all surprised to learn you were sensitive to that. Oh, glad that's over. Aye, lad. That being done, he made his way out of Asgard. And when he found Thor awaiting him at the gates of Midgard, he knew he had been double-crossed. Just when I thought I'd seen it all. Now to the realm travel room and then to Jotunheim. Well, for Thrym, the lesson would be to keep his priorities straight. For Freya, it's that doing good has a price. For Thor, it's that no object of power makes you what you are. And if what you are is the biggest butchering bastard in the 9 realms, nobody can take that away from you. And they're still there. It's quite a story. I'm afraid I don't know. She could be anywhere, any realm. Parts of my brain must still be coming back to life. Just need a moment to finish waking up. If they even know anything about it. And after no small amount of convincing, Freya agreed. In the end, even the Vanir gods and the armies of Midgard were roused to the cause. Well, I don't know for certain, though I'd wager his penchant for stealing magical artifacts had something to do with it. Must have stolen a trinket from the wrong Vanir goddess. But even Thor wasn't stupid enough to take on Starkath on his own. Perhaps the father had too much fear in him, or the son too little. Either way, a quarrel of theirs spiralled out of control, and the overworked stonemason, bonk, struck his son. Ominous. The whole realm is a great fire, the source of fire itself, and all the sun and stars, if legend is to be believed. Well, it wouldn't be a challenge without a little challenge, would it? Now then, before Modi so rudely interrupted us, we were just about to explore Tyr's vault. Brave, generous Surt, who knows he lives but to his doom. But it was not her husband she would glimpse in her visions, for it was Groa, seeing longer and farther than any before or since, who witnessed Ragnarok, the end and the beginning. Well, never too late to go out fighting, I suppose. Until then, alone he waits in Muspelheim, never sleeping, ever honing his fiery blade. It can't be that. It's not like you go through Vanaheim to reach the Midgard peak. Reasonable enough, but we will have to wait for the conclusion. Perhaps we should strike up a conversation. I'm a bit curious why one would be down here, in physical form no less. I've got an eye. One! Odin plucked out my other eye precisely to keep me from travelling. That, little brother, is what we call an understatement. The giants anticipated Odin's trickery and exposed his true agenda to spy and steal their secret wisdom. Want me to... He died at peace. A legion of his kin to mourn him. Well, that was mildly terrifying. Maybe our presence is upsetting Jormungandr's belly. There is a touch of mystery about it. Prior to that, wars for the Aesir were easily won. But the Vanir had proved their equal and exacted devastating damage. Anything you'd like to talk about, brother? There was an incident shortly after the forging of Mjolnir, when Tyr arranged a diplomatic meeting between Odin and the giant kings. Not just Mimir, but all of giant kind faced extinction. A Valkyrie, imprisoned. She actually did it. Would you believe it slipped my mind? But when the sun and moon grew mutinous and stood still, Odin put Skoll and Hati to use. I believe we were discussing my youthful ambitions. We should probably do something about them. No. Well, I don't think so. I thought it best to tell her what she wanted to know before any Sather became necessary. Well, that's stretching it a bit. Fafnir. I always wondered what became of him. Well. It's the drunken raider who can't actually get drunk. How are you feeling these days, lad? Oh, sorry. Touchy subject. Well, I did say not to concern yourself. No, brother. Prophecy doesn't expect this for 100 more winters at least. You've changed something. Prophecy didn't count on you. But he didn't care, because his plan was complete. Trouble finding it? Keep trying then. He was. And now he's a dragon. Funny how life works, innit? No. That's not Vanaheim. That's the Vanaheim Tower. And both sides of it are still in Midgard. Very strange indeed. Some people value their privacy. Best not to judge, brother. All this could I faithfully provide. It's to the left of the two oarsmen statues. I didn't call it out for what it was at the time. I didn't know for sure. Brother, the bow of the boat's been harpooned. Wouldn't it be nice to find some incense just once? The smell of brimstone gets old quickly. A Valkyrie here in Niflheim? Impossible. Skíðblaðnir? Yeah, because it was designed to fly. This was not. There's a horn on a platform at the middle point of the bridge. Take me to it. Brother, that icy bramble covering the travel stones. Use your blades to clear it away. Well, I can't drown. Guess that's something. Or rather, I should say, a well of water laced with enough mystic mushrooms to make a god see visions. Ragnarok. A long story. Told by the gods, yes, of course. You really are your father's son, you know. Alas, no. But the serpent did mention that the giants had entrusted that secret to Tyr. Back then I was young enough to still be ambitious. As father and mother they would multiply exceedingly, and as king and queen they worked to make Jotunheim a land where giants would know no master but themselves. The taste of Vanir magic led him to new forms of experimentation and new levels of depravity. Sadly, despite his wise counsellors' best efforts to persuade him that peace was the only true path to stave off Ragnarok, Odin never let go of his obsession with Jotunheim. Yes, although he wasn't a dragon when I knew him. Freya was sent to meet the mason, and to her surprise, he wanted only to whisper something in her ear. Aye, calm and collected. Then the air would shift and the fury of her storm would unleash. It was beautiful in a way, assuming you could find proper shelter. Her tears would cleanse the blood-soaked battlefields. Not just hell. Worst place in hell you could have put us. But did you also know that control of the light has changed hands no less than 213 times? That icy bramble outside, brother, covering the travel stones. Get back out there and use your blades to clear it away. In that case, we need to sail this boat as far away from here as possible. I had a thought, brother. Why don't you let the lad carry me for a while? Don't know. I've never been in here. More small passages. Now the mystical rune's been dispelled and the seal broken. You just used the magic of the giants. That's putting it mildly, brother. It goes down. Way, way down. Now that, he thought I said you were friends of Odin. You'll forgive me. I've never spoken the ancient tongue sober. Thrym the Cunning stole Thor's hammer and ill-advisedly offered to trade it for Freya's hand in marriage. Well, lad, reavers have very specific priorities. If it's not shiny and you can't eat or drink it, might as well use it as a blunt object. Tyr was hopeful to convince all parties they would prosper best through peace. I don't expect it will, though I don't suppose it will make things any worse either. It'll be one less obstacle for the living to reach the inner sanctum of Helheim. But who'd be mad enough to go there? Brother, you're fading fast. Gently now, gently. Well, that's the legend. If you wanted sense, you shouldn't be talking to a severed head. And beyond that, hopefully some trace of a secret path to Jotunheim. I think we're better off letting the snake rest, brother. Use the fire of your blades to burn away that hell's bramble blocking the path. For a while there, he really turned on the charm. He seemed happy. He seemed interested in making her happy. Ah, a ski-and do from my homeland. Used to have one of my own back in the day. You should take it, boy. Anything's possible. Take caution, lads. A Valkyrie in the flesh. I can't think of a more formidable opponent. The boat's shifting! I'm gonna... No! It's not like I can still see through it. 2 out of 3 isn't bad. What is what? I can't see anything back here. I'm Mimir, the smartest man alive. I know many things. Rather a trap for the winds of hell. But where do you think the winds are? Enough was enough. And at last Odin's most brilliant advisor became determined to find a more enlightened path. She cast a powerful spell that hurtled them both out of Jotunheim with no means of return. Odin was livid, hoping that Thor's foothold in Jotunheim would become his own. And oh, would he ever revenge himself upon Freya? And with that kind of power, laddie, I must confess, there are perks. Wait till you have a beard to singe. Hrungnir, you see, was born with neither head nor heart. So the giants had to complete him with stone. That is interesting. It's known the Aesir find their own way to Valhalla. No Valkyrie escort, no processing at the gates of Helheim. That may be significant. Oh, let me see. Thormur, the giant stone mason, distraught after striking his son, became lost in Midgard looking for the boy. Could it be? The 8 thrones. Aye, lad. Potently powerful. Remind me to tell you why they call him the Lord of the Hanged. Time doesn't move the same between all realms, especially where the spirit world is concerned. Aye, and his feet as well. Sigrun hated Odin, no doubt about that. But her duty, her responsibility! Would she really forsake these things to get back at Odin? I don't believe it. Never seen one of those before. They look like they walked straight out of hell. But no, as Odin's advisor, I kept him advised. And having bent his will towards Starkath's doom, there was no dissuading him. Thrym's palace was in Jotunheim, and only giants know the way. My first master was a cruel piece of work as well, but I learned through him the enduring power of wit, which served me well with kings and gods alike. Minor Aesir, perhaps, but aye. Sorry, brother, I'm still stuck on what I heard back there. Zeus was your father? Just time enough for the finale of our prior tale. You all right, brother? Our young god knows no fear. Odin put Skoll and Hoti in the sky for purposes of control. Don't I know that one? We had come to Bergelmir and his queen, and the founding of a new realm. Let's pick this up later, then. We shouldn't delay. The shortcut between realms, brother. Use it. Worse still, he robbed her of her warrior spirit. Freya cannot fight, even to defend herself. No living thing may she harm by blade nor spell. In a world this belligerent, what choice does she have but isolation? I've seen it in mortals that some conflict of the mind expresses itself as an ailment of the body, never in a god, but a god believing himself mortal. I can only imagine. Oh dear, that is what you're thinking, isn't it? I sometimes wonder if there was once some sort of accident in his brain. Doesn't like music either. Got it! Aye. Worse still, he robbed her of her warrior spirit. He came from Muspelheim, the fire realm, bringing heat to the young cosmos, conjuring the sun from his primordial flame. Did I? But Baldur is blessed with invulnerability to all threats, physical or magical. Well done, lad. The only thing that put a stop to it was Freya, who wanted no part of this massacre. Right then, we were in the middle of a story, weren't we? If you live long enough to do this many times over, you might end up as far north as this place. Thor takes one look at the drunken stone buffoon and brings down Mjolnir on his head so hard that he's got chunks of Hrungnir in his own skull to this day. He knew the giants were deeply concerned about the hammer, a super weapon in hands they did not trust, but they trusted Tyr. Suit the brave. Perhaps we should keep an eye out for binding shrines and free the poor bastard. Aye, lads? Yes, lad. That's from a great desert land very far from here. And perhaps the biggest iceberg I've ever seen. Ah, you know this one, don't you? Magni, being blonder, got all the credit, and Modi remained bitter about it from that day to the end, which I don't need to tell you about. I can assure you I'm unsurpassed in keeping confidences. That's dwarven creativity for you. Impressive and dangerous. Aye, lad. On to the Rokstol of Valkyrs then. If you remember, it's next to the 2 oarsmen statues on the path we took to Thamur's chisel. She became a huntress beyond compare, even to any god. Well, we did it, I suppose. Or I can just tell you the story later. And it's done. We really are doing this. Sigrun, the queen of the Valkyries. She would have that power. The last time I saw her, she was corporeal herself. She came to visit me long after I'd been imprisoned by Odin. That's right. The bringers of day and night. Odin came to regard him as a threat to his rule. He suspected Tyr of collaborating to aid the giants instead of helping to steal their secrets for the Aesir. The same thing he accused me of, frankly. Though in Tyr's case, I believe he was right. You already do, laddie. Your faculty for language is extraordinary for one so young. Time alone will tell what else you'll become capable of. Spoil sport. Aye. When I saw her last, she was different. Changed. And not just that she was in physical form. She was more volatile. I tried to talk to her about it, but she had just come to say goodbye. I didn't think. We need to talk, brother. You do realise it's over, don't you? Even if we make it back to Midgard, you and Baldur destroyed the only gate to Jotunheim. We are out of options. And that boy up there, he's in 9 kinds of pain. His head's turned so far around I can't say for sure, lad. We should ask more of them. If, of course, you don't mind the distraction. That's right, milady. You are free. You'll feel a mystical pulse when the hidden rune senses the chisel over it. As you wish. Brothers, I know what I promised, but in case this doesn't work, just remember, Tyr had good cause to create these obstacles. He's kept Jotunheim out of Odin's reach, but the world is hardly at peace. Skoll and Hoti, the wolf giants, bring us day and night by chasing the sun and moon, and they shall, until the day they catch them. It was about the giant with 8 arms, Starkath the Mighty. The Rokstol of Valkyr. Time to do what you do, brother. Very impressive, lads. Regarding Ymir, primordial fire and ice met in the great void, producing water. They were born of the archwolf Hrothwitnir, a great nemesis of the Aesir gods. Aye, but he was loved by everyone, including the giants. Other than me, he was the only one they gifted with their special sight. More of a swordsman. He did only have the 2 eyes. He was a very giant, who, despite his mountainous size, was without question the greatest stonemason this world had ever seen. In the beginning, there was Ginnungagap, the Great Void. There were no realms yet, only primordial forces. There was fire, and there was ice, and there in the void they met and produced. Oh, he's right, you know. I see it too. A place to climb up back where he did the flipping. Oh, I like that one. I wonder if I wrote it. All because he chooses to serve a grand cycle so much bigger than himself. To truly embrace your purpose and the patience and sacrifice it demands is to ensure your day will come. Hey, I wonder if the giants left a triptych about me somewhere too. Keep rowing towards the statues of the oarsmen, then thread past between them. Oh, nicely done. All right, brother, let's see what those blades can do. Did I? Not even the finest archer among the gods could bring it down. He'd have kept it in any of 100 places, I'm afraid. Mimir, the smartest man alive. I know many things. This dock can only mean one thing. We are taking a break from this story. Don't listen to him, lad. He's trying to rile you up. Well, let's come back to that flaming sword, shall we? You have to get into Freya quickly. There's no other way. We were at... The stonemason's son, plotting revenge, observed the shoddiness of Asgard's walls. Brother, looks like that crystal's brimming again. Aye, Magni and Modi, the sons of Thor. A Valkyrie, imprisoned. She actually did it. Aye, doesn't get much stronger than a Valkyrie. Maybe you feel a little too good right now. With power comes a big choice, lad. You can either serve yourself or put your godhood in the service of others, like Tyr did. Furious, and he cursed her most terribly. Give the man credit. He has a talent for destroying things. I don't think we should disturb Jormungandr without some reason. They aren't legendary for their social graces, all right? Nothing at all, lad. That's the tragedy of it. They took no side in that madness. But Odin's paranoia is surpassed only by Thor's lust for blood. Well, this isn't right. But close enough. He did say there were kinks. The tale of Bergelmir begins in an ocean of blood. Sadly, he caught the eye of the one person he didn't want to meet alone at night so far from home. Thor. It's a council chamber of sorts, hidden away in Midgard. The Valkyries would often need a place to confer outside of Odin's prying eyes. They thought themselves properly concealed, but the All-Father sees all, so the saying goes. We return to Odin's mortal wounding of the giant Ymir. After completing his father's masterwork, the Great Wall of Jotunheim, he thought of nothing but making the Aesir pay for their crimes against the giants. They said he abducted an elf queen who killed herself rather than be ravished by the giant. Lies, of course, but you're too young for her story. In the end, even the Vanir gods and the armies of Midgard were roused to the cause. I'm biting my tongue. If I'm not mistaken, we've yet to discuss the tale of the giant Bergelmir. Fishermen would bring their day's catch into this port and use that contraption to send some of it directly to the Jarl's main kitchen. The rest were sorted and sold. Well, that's a bit of a story, actually. I'm afraid the winds have dissipated, brother. Ha! I guess the temple was made to be flipped. Odin had invited Hrungnir to his palace in Asgard, getting the simple giant drunk to amuse the court. Oh, hey, what season is it? Is it getting colder? Hard to tell when you're embedded in a tree. Tell me, are the chill winds blowing in from the east yet? Ah, the very topic of conversation. A tattooed man travelling with a child. He doesn't know what you are. Oh, me? I'm the greatest ambassador to the gods, the giants, and all the creatures of the 9 realms. I know every corner of these lands, every language spoken, every war waged, every deal struck. They call me Mimir, smartest man alive, and I have the answer to your every question. Okay, there are a few gaps in my knowledge, but Odin's had me imprisoned here for 109 winters. I'm a clever lad. I can piece it together. I promise. Just given time. Oh, then you've come to the wrong place, little brother. The highest peak in all the realms is not here in Midgard. It's in Jotunheim, realm of the giants. Take a look. This is the last known bridge to Jotunheim in all the realms. See that mountain? Looks like a giant's finger scraping the sky. That's the highest peak in all the realms. No here. When the giants destroyed all other bridges to their realm, they locked this one up with a secret rune. If it still exists, only a giant would know it. True. But today, the winds of fate have kicked up a strange vortex of coincidence. Fact is, there's only one person alive who can get you where you need to go. And luckily for you, my schedule's wide open. It's your best and only move from a tactical standpoint. It's the one place the man who cannot be killed won't follow you. First, you need to cut off my head. And Odin made sure that no weapon, not even Thor's hammer, could free my body from these bonds. But fortunately, you don't need my body. The trick is, we need to find someone who can reanimate my head using the old magic. And she'll help, she might do, worth a try. He tortures me, you know, every day, brother. Odin himself sees to it personally, and believe me, there is no end to his creativity. Every single day. This isn't living. Brother, in case you can't resurrect me, there's something you need to know. The boy, the longer you wait to tell him his true nature, the more damage you do. He will resent you, and you may lose him forever. So you value your privacy more than your son. Fair enough. Something to be solved with our heads rather than our feet. Suits me fine. Aren't you a quick study? Hrein ran off into the night. Be grateful it works at all. No living thing may she harm by blade nor spell. You two don't look so good. Great. Just bear in mind this boat can only take us part of the way. Tyr's temple is near the top of a tremendous waterfall which, sadly, we are downstream. That means even if we get there intact, we'd still need to sail up a waterfall somehow. He would ever be known as Mimir the Beloved. Aye. There aren't many happy endings for the giants, I'm afraid. A weapon of legend. Thormur, the giant stonemason, struck his warlike son in the heat of a quarrel, and the boy ran off into the night. Starkath, the mighty and many-limbed giant, whose praises I should have known better than to sing. I think you're right, but we still need the key. Your dad's a wee bit single-minded, isn't he, lad? Well, that's awfully cheerful coming from you. Thor unleashed Mjolnir's might upon any giant he could find. None could stand against the tide of slaughter that followed. Ruthless, barbaric, heartless? That's Odin. In fact, we would do well to sit here in silence for the next few moments and reflect on Odin's capacity for cruelty. Odin schemed to capture the visions of Ragnarok recorded by Groa, the Knowledge Keeper. Do you hear that, brother? Lad's found his equilibrium. We've met. Aye. Every god, man and beast came first from Mimir's flesh. Aye, let's go see what Tyr's got for us. Well, I wouldn't say I'm feeling whole again, but it's a right improvement. Solving problems with our heads rather than our feet. Suits me fine. Well, why would he? He's a pre-Bergelmirian giant. Muspel was his home long before the flood. That's better this way, both for him and for everything not on fire. Olrun, once the daughter of a powerful chieftain, she fell defending him during a Reaver attack. Olrun was escorted to Valhalla, where she chose to devote her afterlife to the pursuit of knowledge above all else. Quite unusual behaviour amongst the constant drinking and feasting of her fellow Valhallian denizens. Except for one thing. You are headed for Jotunheim, so he was right. That's it, brother. Dispel it. Not going to make that. And at last, it seems, with Tyr's aid, they retreated. The tower disappeared, no giants could be found in Midgard, and no man nor god has set foot in Jotunheim since. She stuck it out through all manner of indignity, all in the name of maintaining peace and safety for her people. Now you mention it, he wouldn't. Surt the Brave forged his sword of flame for one purpose alone, to burn down Asgard when Ragnarok comes at last. And time to walk. The story will keep. Terrible experience, by the by. Your dad picked up a new trick, though, with a little help from Brock. Oh, neat trick, lad. My, yes, those blades will serve quite well in Helheim. Now, I believe I see a door to the realm between realms over there, in your own front yard, no less. Take the shortcut back to the realm travel temple, then on to Helheim, yeah? Thank you, brother. You don't miss depth until it's gone. Hidden inside that tablet is a mystical rune that creates the magical seal keeping that door locked. Use our chisel to find the binding points of a hidden rune so we can dispel it. Once more to the horn. Thor smashes the stone head of Hrungnir, who falls upon him with a sickening crunch. It took some convincing, but ultimately Odin was persuaded to marry his deadliest enemy, a certain Vanir goddess, legendary not only for her fertile beauty, but her genius at the very Vanir magic that Odin had long aspired to master. we'd get up to all manner of mischief, making fools of the local mortals. But as long as our lord was kept amused, we were spared the consequences. Well, I think you've gotten pretty good at that. That totem contains a powerful source of magical energy, the very power of Helheim itself. But what you want is his heart. Just take it and we can leave. For 1,000 mortal lifetimes, the bridgekeeper kept the living out of this place. But now that you've ripped his heart out, here we are. Funny how it all comes around. It's my career! And if you mean to make your career as a counsellor to kings, you can't very well rule out petty maniacs. Available positions are scarce enough. Somebody just called the serpent. Hrungnir's stone head is smashed to pieces by Thor's hammer. Aye, lad. The Council of Valkyries. Aye. The first and original. Back to Freya's. Quick as can be. Both? She didn't even notice me. Could be quite a wait. Well, my nose itches. With magics, they expelled Odin from their realm and cursed him never to return. You're familiar with the tale of Skoll and Hoti, bringers of day and night? Judgment, no. But if vengeance is any concern. Sure you do, lad. We need a boat. Why would I know that? Happily, my boy. It involves your friend Freya, too, though I don't expect it's one she'd enjoy being reminded of. The giant was called Thrym. Regardless, it sounds like we did the right thing. We should look for more of these Valkyries. I'm fairly sure it's on the side you didn't go before. Odin was not happy to find himself on the losing end of the wager, but he seemed to uphold his end of the bargain. We'd come to the part where Thor caught up with Hrimthur and slew the stonemason's son. Not at all! Freya was queen of the Valkyries at one point. Part of her marriage dowry included overseeing the Valkyries themselves. As a powerful Vanir goddess, they revered her. I never knew how much until now. That's talking about Odin. He's known by many names. Not all of them nice. Ah, lad, you're making me blush, I think. Can I still blush? Fair enough. Get me to Tyr's temple in the Lake of the Nine, and I'll get you to Jotunheim as promised. Well, well. Hildr, mistress of battle. She and Odin got on quite well, actually. Her and the other Valkyries, not so much. She would spend most of her time here in Midgard observing discord between the living, and sewing some up herself from time to time. She lived for conflict. Some say she was conflict personified. I wonder what will become of her now that she's free. Start some trouble. You can do that, right? Sadly for Thrym, he didn't always think with his brain. Thrym's palace was in Jotunheim, and only giants know the way. By agreeing to the marriage, they'd have to escort Freya back to their realm. So, Odin coerced Freya into using her Seithur magics to conceal Thor, so he could sneak along with her and infiltrate Jotunheim. Locked. Now what? Konungsgard was a beautiful land in its heyday, before the Dwarf King's obsession poisoned his mind. That's putting it mildly, brother. Well, you gentlemen certainly know how to get around. Eats away at you, doesn't it? Locked doors. Seeking revenge on Skadi the Huntress, Odin spread rumours that Aesir were plagued by an eagle. Freyr has a long history with the elves, one of the few gods welcome here. Not sure what happens when we recklessly upend a room that's rooted to 8 other realms. I'm curious, of course, but it's a leap to imagine it gets us to Jotunheim. Yes, this isn't at all terrifying, is it? Ah, yes. It was believed that Njord calmed the winds and seas for the fishermen. For that they loved and worshipped him here. Lads, am I glad to see you. I believe I've reached my limit for dwarven charm. 'Tis a great mystery, even amongst the sons of Ivaldi. Motsognir's behaviour before his disappearance grew increasingly erratic. Oh, don't mistake me, brother. From what I heard, the Pantheon had it coming. But it's still a bit to take in. I knew you hate gods, but you really can't stay away from them, can you? It's quite ridiculous. It was very heroic. Lad, there comes a time in every man's life when he changes his name and heads north to make a new start. Not evil. You killed her son, lad. Her son. The death of a child is not something a parent gets over easily. Both sides suffered tremendous losses, and for many of us, quite frankly, war was simply no fun anymore, but a rather senseless waste of precious life. Bergelmir never sought revenge for Odin's slaughter. It was to be his masterwork. He only wanted to protect his people, to protect him from himself. So, if you remember, I'd started a doozy of a story earlier. Oh, don't worry. I'm sure they'll be back to yelling at each other momentarily. He was strong, to be sure, but also a perfect simpleton. To truly embrace your purpose, and the patience and sacrifice it demands, is to ensure your day will come. All right, the stonemason's son Hrimthur, he builds Asgard a great wall and demands his prize. Odin suspected the giant secretly possessed some remnant of primordial Jotnar creative essence, the stuff all realms were made of. The Unity Stone must have been fashioned from that essence. To trust an outsider with it, even Tyr, tells you just how desperate they were. I believe I was saying the Aesir had power, but lacked for strategy. I was going to tell you of Skoll and Hoti, the bringers of day and night. Tyr's braziers, a symbol of the light that binds all realms together. Odin's eye is on you, brother, especially now that you've taken to killing his kin. Freya's forest is a blind spot for him. This is our smartest move, and if anyone can heal him, it's her. I know I've been up in a mountain for a while now, but since when do the dead not stay dead? A little resurrection among friends is one thing, I can hardly complain, but it's as if hell itself is shambling into Midgard. Well, turning dragon hasn't done much for his personality. Aye, lad. A forgotten city. Oh, wind's out. Looks like polite conversation isn't an option. Reminds me of something I'd seen Tyr sketch. He liked to combine various symbols into runes all his own. This one, I believe, means no idea, brother. But after that fall, I'm sure we're past the worst of it. She was called Skadi, Queen of the Hunt. There are many legends behind the Dvegrathikr. A suspicious amount of legends, which makes confirming anything about this particular armour difficult. But the one constant among them is the ability of the armour to offer ultimate protection. A useful attribute for an unpopular king, you see. That's right. Rota, Gunnar, Skuld. Without them to clean up the aftermath of battle, hell overflows with souls meant for Valhalla. A sorry state of affairs. Rota must be beside herself. That lock needs a gust of hell's wind to open it. Not sure where you get sad from all the roaring and fire-breathing, lad. Hope you know what you're doing. Sadly for Thrym, he didn't always think with his brain. Though he had robbed the greatest giant killer of his greatest weapon, he offered to trade it back to the Aesir in exchange for Freya as his bride. The entrance to Tyr's vault is at the bottom of these stairs, whenever you decide it's time to go after the Black Rune, yeah? My guess? Temporal magic. Dangerous stuff the High Vanir gods used to play around with. The ability to freeze time. Happened to be a favourite of Njord himself, in fact. So, Odin coerced Freya into using her Seithar magics to conceal Thor, so he could sneak along with her and infiltrate Jotunheim. Don't count the dwarves out, lad. They're right pricks, but they're resourceful. They once made an unbreakable chain out of little more than a cat's footstep and bird spit. Skadi tracked the eagle as it flew where she alone could glide, and loosed an arrow from her unerring bow. Why the arcane runes? Perhaps we're meant to find something in Muspelheim and Niflheim. Shit. Yeah. I'm turned around. Which way is the sandbowl back up? I truly do hate this part. Muspelheim runes? No, not much opportunity for correspondence there. Let me take this moment to tell you that what you are about to do is absolutely insane. Not even Odin can survive this cold. So, I hope those blades work. I used to think he never caught on, but the day he took my eye, I realised he had never been fooled. We're not reaching that platform. Niflheim runes? No, not much opportunity for correspondence there. They were born of the archwolf Hrothwitnir, a great nemesis of the Aesir gods. Odin captured them as pups and kept them in the kennels of Asgard to hold his foe at bay. We really should expect that sort of response at this point. I, for one, never doubted. And you've lost it. Try again, brother. Odin sought to undo Starkath, the mighty eight-armed giant, but not by direct attack. He took back Mjolnir and wasted no time in smashing Thrym's skull, followed by every other giant present for the festivities. His vengeance was to live and prosper. It's just an illusion. Hell's known for torturing its inhabitants with their own past. We should focus on getting back to your son. Perhaps we should keep an eye out for binding shrines and free the poor bastard. Aye, lads? Well, this seems frustrating. We need only conclude the Song of Bergelmir, founder of Jotunheim, who chose love instead of revenge. But she spurned his affections, and for that insult, Odin vowed revenge. Correct. A cunning one as well. Then I persuaded him it has been his sacrifice made for an even higher form of sight to be bestowed. Blah, de blah, de blah, de blah. Well, are we going to fight her, or just stare at her all day? Our young god knows no fear. Oh, did you then? Well, how'd that go? Correct. Except the giants, in their infinite wisdom, saw to it that no ordinary chisel would do the job. Only the tip of a magical chisel opens that gate. Luckily, I know where it is. And it's not far. There was a frost giant king who was called Thrym. Well, if things work according to plan... Aye, she'd married Odin. The Jotnar were unprepared, as the very last of them were washed away in the endless tide. The torrent of Ymir's blood had washed away the Jotnar. His destiny is to fall at the hands of Thor and Odin, but in so doing, strike the blow that leaves their realm in ash and ruin. It's as if they'd been made into a memorial to the Valkyries. The opposite, in fact. The Lake of Souls feels faster than Alfheim time, but Hell is much slower than Midgard. Sorry, I'm sure that's confusing. Once he longed to fight Thor, but tragedy had brought wisdom to Hrimthor, and cunning. Correct. Whatever happened to it, I believe it could only have been done with Tyr and the giants working together. I'd suggest we look inside, but stay alert. Tyr's little challenges are never as simple as they appear. Aye, lad. On to the Rokstol av Valkyrs then. If you remember, it's next to the 2 oarsmen statues on the path we took to Thamur's chisel. Sounds like Njord to me. Affable fellow. Formidable drinker. The Vanir always were a more personable sort of god than the Aesir. Vanir magic is powerful, but its rules are slippery and elusive. I'm sure it makes sense if you're a witch. Oh, but it's also bloody tragic. Baldur was the greatest gift Odin granted Freya, the one thing she treasured from their marriage. She only hoped to spare him pain and spare herself loss. But such impulses can lead good parents to make terribly stupid decisions. Well, turns out stopping time keeps the sun and moon from streaking across the sky. Unfortunately, it does not stop the wolves that chase them, always looking to sink their teeth in. After that, they decided it was best to leave time alone. We can't just leave her like this, brother. Tyr always believed the best in people, and taking Odin at his word in his desire for peace, he brought the Raven King to Jotunheim, the Dvegrathikr. The very armour you find yourself searching for. Though he found 2, I'd wager his failure to find the 3rd ingredient drove him to madness. Aye, and I've a feeling there are more out there. We'd best keep an eye out, if you're up for playing hero, of course. There's no travel crystal. Tyr must have used his own eyes to refract the energy. It was his final failsafe. Not just the old and sick come to Helheim. So do the criminals. Hell must not draw a distinction between us and those whom these visions are meant to torture. Back when Ymir first emerged from Ginnungagop, it was Surt who followed next. Ah, the great dining hall, envy of all Midgard. Funny, I remember there being a massive candelabrum. Really livened up the place. She was a gifted sorceress who gathered every tome of arcane wisdom she could find in the realms, all in the hopes of augmenting her powers of prophecy, that she might find her lost husband, Aurvandil. Have you been going to the Fire Realm? Aye, lad. On to the Rokstol av Valkyrs then. If you remember, it's next to the 2 oarsmen statues on the path we took to Thamur's chisel. Tyr's own design. He made this door himself. Ah, Alfheim. I missed its gentle breeze and the sweet smell of honeysuckle and blood. Well, judging by the sky, the Light Elves are in control of the light this time. After so much time together, he knew her vulnerabilities and exploited them to craft curses she could never break. Surely that's enough of that. Aye. Baldur is blessed with invulnerability to all threats, physical or magical. Not sure they even have a choice in the matter, lad. Aye, it ranks among his foremost obsessions. Now, I believe I was just acquainting Odin with my mystic well of knowledge. Thor was no use at this point, his brain rattled, his breath shallow, but none of Odin's men were nearly strong enough to help. When the sun and moon refused to rise and set, Odin cast the wolf giant Skoll and Hoti into the heavens to give chase. Starkath, the mighty 8-armed giant, had surrendered in hopes to clear his name. He granted her so many wishes I can scarcely recall them all. This plan seems ill-advised. This isn't right, brother. We need a shortcut between realms. The one next to the dwarf's shop. Aye, and a bloody infinite number of traps. If memory serves, the Jarl's throne was just on the other side of that wall of ice. Odin knew that Skadi could not resist the temptation to prove herself superior. By night, my mates and I had the run of the forest. You see, the Light Elves and Dark Elves, I don't think they're the kind that come to life, if that's what you're worried about. Tyr often said that in the world of peace he envisioned, the only soldiers he'd need would be statues. Bless his heart, but the bugger did take himself rather seriously, didn't he? The fate of the Valkyries. Oh, we forgot to mention that. When you were sick, we went to Helheim to get your cure. That's right. Freya was Baldur's mother all along. I came here on a diplomatic mission once, trying to broker a peace between Asgard and Vanaheim. That war. So many lives lost. What I didn't know was Thor had already gone on a killing spree of giants. Aye, and a bloody infinite number of traps. Get us there. It only takes us halfway to Tyr's temple, but at least it gets us far from here. I'm at a loss. I assure you have no reason to keep such a thing a secret. Glad to see you're paying attention, brother. You are correct. Valhalla, the great hall of the Einherjar, is their home within Asgard. But while there, they are subject to the scrutiny of the All-Father himself, and relations between the Valkyries and Odin were tense during my tenure as his advisor. Odin met him wandering in Midgard one day, found him so amusing, so harmless, so gullible, that he invites him back to his palace in Asgard. You two just can't get enough, can you? That's putting it mildly, brother. Odin's wrath was fierce, and his curses upon her were more than she dared to fear. Hrimthur made short work of it, of course. He had the benefit of his father's training and the aid of a magical stallion for fetching stones. Sigrun, I'm sorry for being so worthless. I could have done something, or tried at the very least. What will you do now? Aye, a god of war, but one who fought for peace. Had a reputation for being heroic and lawful, using his power and knowledge to stop wars rather than start them. Imagine breathing it in from your throat stump. Well, we had history, I guess you could say. Laddie, have you ever heard the term tempting fate? Well, one inner sanctum within another. Well, for a long time my job was to enable Odin, and I was fucking excellent at it. The tower, it's absorbing the stone's energy. Precisely the question, lad. Odin is extremely clever, you see. Nearly as clever as he thinks he is. And he's a collector of prophecies. If it's about the future, he adds it to his collection. Helps him style himself as all-seeing and all-knowing. But of course, the idea is control. Control of the future, control of his fate. He'd control every realm of every land in every world if he could. Every potential pocket of resistance he seeks to eliminate. Even if you've never posed a threat before, he may think one day you might. So you see, it's not important how he knew before you did. It's important that he was right. Sigrun, how did this happen? You know, I'd really hoped never to see this place again. The tip of one, yes. A very, very giant chisel. It's time I told you of the giant Thormur. I never had the pleasure. Laufey was a rumour in the halls of Asgard. A giantess warrior who thwarted many an Aesir god's plans, freeing those who they would enslave, feeding those who they would starve, generally making a nuisance of herself in the most noble of ways. Thor was terribly frustrated he could never find her to fight. Once my imprisonment began, I could only wonder what became of her, and who she would turn out to be. Yours is quite a singular lineage, lad. Oh, well, I now realise this would be a wholly inappropriate story for young and innocent ears. As Sigrun mentioned, Odin and Freya had a falling out. He ripped her wings off and stripped her of all titles. The Valkyries were devastated, and Freya, well, let's not mention any of this to her, aye? It's a bit of a sore spot, to say the least, feeling shame and regret. Thormur chased after his son, but in his emotional state soon found himself wandering Midgard, lost and alone. Tyr believed the mind, not might, was key to preventing war and chaos. And he also knew visiting other cultures would give him perspective staying in one place could not. While Odin always hoarded knowledge, guarding it jealously, Tyr was open and sharing with his learning and his wisdom. For this, mortals adored Tyr, showing their love by bringing him gifts the world over. Just when I thought I'd seen it all. Well, lads, I don't know what lies ahead, but now would be a good time to make sure your gear is ready for the worst. Anything you need to do, I'd do it now. Just some sage advice. Smarter than all the dead ones, too. We'll just pick this up at a later time. Neithines are ancient curses, old magic. Best to avoid. Thor took advantage and ripped off one of Starkath's arms, which only made it easier to sever another and another until he was satisfied. Odin had persuaded Tyr that the hammer was merely a deterrent, a means to broker peace from a position of strength. Sorry, lad. The sight of Gondul always took my breath away. Gondul had a silver tongue, a sharp wit, and struck a figure so stunning it literally drove men insane. Odin forbid her from setting foot in Midgard after a time, as insanity is not a welcome trait in Valhalla. It's true, she had help from her sisters, of course, but Gunnar was always first to arrive. Her judgment of the fallen was unparalleled, and an invaluable resource to Odin. She was one of his favourites. Right then, I'd just started a story earlier. Of course, laddie, and yours for the asking, but I prefer the boat. In here is distracting. Ah, clever. Winds of Hell? Maybe we can get up to one of those balconies for a better look. No, we're still on the realm travel bridge. We're after the Bridge of the Damned. The dead use it to cross into their permanent home, the city of Helheim. The bridgekeeper who minds admission, he's the one we want. Just follow this bridge. Should lead us straight to him. Then enter little Magni and Modi. No taller than shrubs. And while nobody but myself was looking, they flipped over Hrungnir's corpse and freed their father. All right, let's get back to Midgard and see about making that key. Where's that dwarf? Listen closely now. We need 2 things to get us into the land of the giants. First, we need to learn the travel rune that opens realm travel to Jotunheim. Second, we need to carve that rune into the special gateway. Well then, enjoy any good meals lately? No? How about some truly depraved whoring, eh? Surely you've had some fun rolling around under the skins with a nice, buxom lass? Well, brothers, I've been to many strange places, but this will be a new one. Some weakness he may have built in, structural or magical, which I expect will be exploited come Ragnarok when Surtur arrives to burn Asgard to ash. If not sooner. Air was strange, as a matter of fact. Very quiet, very calm. Where her sisters were violent rapids, the air was a gentle stream. She healed the wounds of both mortals and gods, and even a certain all-knowing sage who once drank too much and fell off a mountain. Did not leave her in the best of moods, did you? Frankly, I'm surprised you'd want to come back here. Well, that's enough for the time being. If I recall, we had begun to discuss the origin of Mimir, the first giant. Oh, he was rightly impressed. What now then? Maybe Freya ought to have a look at the boy. And time to put a pin in it. What little I know about where Odin may have kept her Valkyrie wings. Seems she's rather bent on reclaiming her warrior spirit. I'm afraid the cycle of vengeance may not be so easily broken. Ah, never knew this was here. Maybe both wind traps need to be filled? And not as simple as that, I'm afraid. Bit drafty, maybe, but it's a right improvement over having tree bark in your tadger. Or the Huldra brothers. Well, who doesn't? They're quite famous, or infamous, depending on your point of view. They crafted Mjolnir, you see. Thor's hammer? The Aesir's greatest murder weapon, the bane of giant kind. Oughtn't we get to the boat, brother? Love and hate are more closely intertwined than you might imagine. From Ymir's torn flesh, Odin would fashion the realm of Midgard for his own. Thor is so startled by the face full of rock, he doesn't notice Hrungnir's body topple right onto him with a sickening crunch. For desecration, typically. Pieces of scattered corpse make for a piss-poor soul. No hope for Valhalla or Helheim when your arm's on one beach and your head's on another. Just old spirits, I suppose. Leftover victims of the Mad Dwarf's reign. Still, that's rather ominous. Again, are we just leaving that there? Nope, still kinked. Interesting. But can we reach it? Thor arrives at the palace in Asgard to find Hrungnir, the simple stone giant, carousing on Odin's mead. And he proved cunning enough to make off with Mjolnir while the Thunder Lummox slept. Yeah, I got that. So you want a corker, do you? Very well, my brothers. I'll tell you the story of Hrungnir, the brawler. The real story. Aye, lad. Poor wretched creature. Your father won't let me go, Balder, and he won't let you kill me. You have nothing to offer me, so take your questions, take your threats, take these 2 worthless wankers, and piss off! I happen to think he looks dashing. You know, for a snow-covered corpse. Aye. And those dead of disease, mishap, age. He is! It's shocking every time I hear it, and yet obviously I know it. But when I think about Balder and Freya... The arcane runes. They must have been cluing us to look for Valkyries imprisoned in Muspelheim and Niflheim. You had posed an excellent question. Why would Odin set Skoll and Hoti to chase the sun if it helped fulfill the prophecy of Ragnarok? You just can't help but break things, can you? Skoll and Hoti, the wolf giants, were captured as pups by Odin. It was about Skadi, queen of the hunt. Stands to reason the second ring should behave like the first. Just need to capture the winds. Let's see, Thrym the Cunning. Where were we? Aye, but his hidden vault is very much in reach. The doors are beneath his temple, submerged in the lake for generations until our snake friend shifted his weight. There we shall find the fabled Black Rune of Jotunheim. I'm not entirely sure, lad. It was abandoned long before Jormungandr came to town and flooded the place. Not entirely sure this is seaworthy. Those realm doors seem to mirror the ones above. There's really no call for that at this point. Was I? Oh, yes! All because he chooses to serve a grand cycle so much bigger than himself. I'd prefer the last panel was burned. Such a senseless pity. Move it or you may lose it, brother. What is what? I can't see anything back here. See that? One of the many reasons we went back for those blades. As if the marriage wasn't punishment enough. Right then, where were we? Ah yes, no longer trusting my motives but not wishing to part with my brain or tongue, he bound me to a tree and adopted a new pastime of casual torture. I can't see. Is she still there? Magically sealed, I'm afraid. Skadi succumbed to her fate as winter's blanket fell, holding her father as the mountain held her in an embrace to last eternity. By serving peace, I served his interests as well. That's the truth. But he saw it as disloyalty. He's already agreed to let us look for my eye in his belly. Best get it over with. Well, now that we've got the giant's chisel, we need to learn the travel rune to Jotunheim, so we can carve it into that special gateway atop the peak and open realm travel to the land of the giants. Not sure she wants to be found. I just don't understand why she would do this. It doesn't make a lick of sense. A dwarf. A greedy little bugger. It's in his blood our story starts. Maybe you should stick that in my head for safekeeping. Well, he might become everyone's concern if you don't do something. You don't have to be the smartest man in the world to see that. Ah yes, those blades will serve quite well in Helheim. Might do more besides. Try using them to ignite that icy bramble there, covering the travel stones. From there, things unravelled quickly. Aye, but his hidden vault is very much in reach. The doors are beneath his temple, submerged in the lake for generations until our snake friend shifted his weight. There we shall find the fabled Black Rune of Jotunheim. How about the warm confines of anywhere bloody else? Escape hell as soon as possible. It's true. Each side believes itself the rightful keepers of the light and argue they're simply fighting for survival. But the fact of the matter is, the war has been going on so long, they don't know who they are without it. Ah, that! He thought I said you were friends of Odin. You'll forgive me. I've never spoken the ancient tongue sober. When the hammer was produced as the wedding dowry, Thor revealed himself. He took back Mjolnir and wasted no time in smashing Thrym's skull, followed by every other giant present for the festivities. This is none other than Geirdriful, the master of arms in Valhalla, responsible for arming and training Odin's Einherjar. Ah, that makes sense. Who else would be training in a place like Muspelheim? Where were we then? Oh yes, my career. I'm sure it's nothing. He just said the boy seemed familiar to him. Staying afloat in the hollowed husk of a tree, the frost giant Bergelmir endured, as did his lady wife. No! God's two must stay on the path, I promise you. What's moving? Where was I? Coming north, making a new start. The real story of Hrungnir the Brawler. A giant with head and heart of stone. She'd finally reached her limit with Odin and broke things off. Let's see, my first job. Right. Me and my mates in the employ of a fairy king. The peace held, and I truly believed all had worked out better than I could have planned. Yormi, to his close friends. Well, let's look at what we know. Balder is Odin's finest tracker bar none. If he wants you, you have to consider the possibility that Odin wants you. And as for what Odin wants, on this I have some expertise. Hold on, wait a minute. This isn't going to work. Oh, you meant the boy, of course. By agreeing to the marriage, they'd have to escort Freya back to their realm. Concerning Groa, the knowledge keeper. Not exactly, lad. Although that is what they're most famous for, and by far their greatest responsibility. You've seen what happens to the dead without the judgment of the Valkyries. Well, that's a sight no man should ever see. Thanks for that. Look, I get it. You hate the gods, all gods. It's no accident that includes yourself. And it includes your boy. Don't you see that? He feels that. He can't help what he is. He can't begin to help it because you haven't even told him. It's all connected, man. Nope, we've lost it. Interesting thought, lad. And it makes sense. Nearly everything about dragons is useful and contains power. Teeth, scales, even excrement. Brother, it's time to go. I am? Oh, that's it precisely. I wonder how long that's been so. Since she had my head at her mercy, or back when I figured out Balder's weakness. Aye, Frigg. Well, that's more of a pet name, you see. It means beloved, something Odin called Freya after they wed. Out of affection at first, or so I like to believe. As things turned sour, it became a way to manipulate the truth. Should do. With that, we can carve the travel rune to Jotunheim. Get you where you need to go. Oh, incidentally, all those magically sealed doors we've seen can now be unlocked. Like that one round the corner. Hover the chisel over the face of the tablet. When you've found the hidden rune, you'll feel something. Smells not as bad as I thought it'd be. Bit like heather ale fermenting. Rather pleasant, actually. Oh, well, the giants are the Aesir's oldest enemies. They're fated to wage a successful war against the gods during Ragnarok. Things don't end well for him and the Aesir, or even the world for that matter. Odin hopes to prevent the army of giants from ever forming. Let that be a lesson, my son. Truth is seldom so pretty as myth and legend. The Bridge of the Damned. And there's the keeper, making sure the dead are really dead. Sorry, lads. Thought that would work. Find me a boat, and we'll go from there. Well, they did not take me into their confidence about that, Odin's convictions to the contrary. But I know this. If I'd spent the better part of 60 winters seeing my best and brightest cut down by Thor and that damn hammer, I might very well go home to lick my wounds. Oh, Thamur was a frost giant. When he died, his final breath froze everything. Aye, thanks to Odin, with good reason. They said he abducted an elf queen who killed herself rather than be ravished by the giant. Lies, of course, but you're too young for her story. Whatever you do, just be careful. Ah, a timely hint for something we've figured out ourselves. Information and secrecy sounds like Odin. No earthly key nor physical force can get past the magic of that lock. Don't even look at it. Feeling shame and regret, Thamur chased after his son, but in his emotional state soon found himself wandering Midgard, lost and alone. Sadly, he caught the eye of the one person he didn't want to meet alone that night. So far from home. Thor. Aye, that he was. And quite a bit more. I believe our story was in need of a conclusion. Balder of Asgard just knocked on your door. Aye, Magni and Modi. Two bigger twits you won't likely find in the halls of Asgard. They'll do anything their uncle puts them up to. Lads, I think there's a way inside this vessel. Now that Freya's given you the travel rune to Helheim, it should be unlocked on the table. Here in Niflheim? Of all the places. Brother, the harpoon's keeping us anchored in place. Free us! Okay, I'll stop now. How about that? A young Jotun with us the whole time, and the son of Laufey, the just! I should have seen it before! He set about to broker a peace between the gods. Swallows death, brings forth life. We weren't far from it on our way to Thomur's chisel. The entrance is to the left of the two oarsmen statues. No. Instead, the Aesir set forth slanders upon Starkath's name, branding him throughout the realms as a monster to be feared. I've seen enough of war between the gods. But you, little brother, who can say? I was there. I saw the Aesir laugh as Hrungnir leapt upon his shield and swore he'd kill us all and take our womenfolk back to Jotunheim. Frustrated, Odin visited his fury upon the giants of Midgard. Her father was Thiazi, who could take the shape of any wild creature, and taught Skadi how to hunt them all. Going to have to break both chains, I'm afraid. Oh, I'm not alive, lad. I'm reanimated, sure, but make no mistake, I'm still quite dead. I'll never be what I once was. She won't want this for her son. Trust me. A necessary evil, he would say, to bring order to the realms. It's difficult to be happy about anything when you're a reanimated head. I'm grateful we were able to set the Valkyries free, but so much of this could have been avoided if only... Freedom comes at a price, milady. Oh, then one day he was not amused, and I saw fit to move on. Ah, out here just to breathe the ash, then? By the time I arrived, I already knew Odin by his reputation, and so I set to demonstrate my worth by coming to him with something I knew he'd value. A mystic well of knowledge. Oh, I should say not. But this was long ago, and they were eager to make a name for themselves. Rather overdid it with that one, methinks. Thormur, the giant stonemason, struck his warlike son in the heat of a quarrel. Through Odin's vile rumours, a mob was raised against Starkath, the mighty eight-armed giant. To finish what I was saying, I tried to serve Odin by serving peace, and he took it as disloyalty. I don't think she can hear you, lad. The helms must only retain but a small portion of their owner. I'd wager the rest is in transit to Valhalla, to try and fix the mess left by their absence. Well, as I recall, it involved, a spell? The wolves determine when Ragnarok begins, and now he controls the wolves. A battle fought on his timetable is a battle he better stands to win. Odin himself wanted her for his bride, believing she would bear him strong sons. And from that destruction, the world can be born anew. Aye, when Thamur fell, he'd crushed a charming place famed for worshipping the Vanir god Njord. Thor always took credit for planning that one, The truth is, the sweaty ball-bag just got lucky. Yes, that's a terrible pity. Groa, the knowledge keeper, sought out her husband in visions, but instead discovered Ragnarok. We were discussing Skoll and Hati, and you had a question about Ragnarok. But the conclusion of this thrilling tale will have to wait. Again with the death traps. Not as simple as that, I'm afraid. But Odin's madness, his tyranny, his corruption of her magics, it became more than she could stomach, and at long last she broke it off. It was a sacrifice to protect her people, a selfless act of love. That was outstanding! Wish I had a better view. Thankfully, the ages and roads travelled since then have turned me from that merry wanderer into the paragon of virtue you see before you today. For weeks they sailed, until finally they came upon a new land. You'd think this dragon would be a bit more supportive, seeing how we're trying to free it. In a world this belligerent, what choice does she have but isolation? Ymir's magical guts poured out in a torrent so violent it threatened to flood all of creation. No progress on the chains front as yet, seemingly. Are you quite sure flipping the temple is the only way to reach the whatever it is? Oh, he's no friend of mine. This little scrote was a constant source of annoyance amongst Aesir and Vanir alike. Oh, how can I be so nauseous without a stomach? There are a few ways to find out, but they're rather messy. They surrounded Starkath, showered him with arrows until he was brought to his knees. He surrendered, hoping by trial he could clear his name. Not him, I'm afraid. Baldur is blessed with invulnerability to all threats, physical or magical. I strongly concur. From the ribs of pack beasts she fashioned second feet, allowing her to glide upon the snow so no animal could evade her. If you mean to break those chains, I'm afraid you'll need to go see to it personally. Don't you think so? Then you are vastly more perceptive than the Aesir. They're the ones who apparently can't tell the difference, and they're the ones who came up with that name. Dwarves actually call their home realm Nidavellir. You almost had it. Keep looking. Brother, there's no path to the temple in here. The door to the realm between realms is outside. Huh? Oh, sorry, my boy. I think it best we just end it there, actually. Find the tip of that chisel. That's the magic we need. Odin sent Freyr to marry Thrym the Cunning, while Thor, under magical concealment, infiltrated Jotunheim in search of his stolen hammer. Groa knew Odin as a long-time patron of her services, and so she welcomed him into her library as a friend. It was put forth that the Aesir were plagued by an eagle who would steal the precious golden apples of Idun. Might want to cut her some slack, lad. Those gears up there. Could we jam a door open, maybe? It's not their fault, brother. Someone changed them. Kept them from their duty. It's also slowly killing you, lad. Odin's spear had spilled the lifeblood of Mimir, the first giant. I was to tell you the story of Hrungnir the Brawler. The real story. Skadi, queen of the hunt, had been lured by Odin into hunting an eagle. There you go, you wee little bugger. Be free. She was overcome with grief and shame. For there is nothing nature so reviles as a child who kills their parent. There was a giant once named Thamur. A very giant, who, despite his mountainous size, was without question the greatest stonemason this world had ever seen. Proud Thamur hoped to one day pass his vast knowledge on to his son, but young Hrimthur had the heart of a warrior. Perhaps the father had too much fear in him, or the son too little. Either way, a quarrel of theirs spiralled out of control, and the overworked stonemason, bonk, struck his son. Hrimthur ran off into the night. That climb there could lead us out, if we could reach it. Clues towards finding a path to Jotunheim, and other obsessions. Well, that's a Valkyrie for you, lad. Unconcerned with niceties. The secret language of the travellers. For Odin's eye only. Would you believe? Magic? You found it. Now dispel it. If you remember, Ymir, the first giant, was fatally stabbed by Odin. Now, at this point, Freya was married to Odin, and Odin, frankly, would have traded her for a sufficiently strong mead, but he saw an opportunity here. Groa the sorceress assembled a library of arcane knowledge, hoping to increase her prophetic powers to find her lost husband. And long shall they chase, but not endlessly, for it is foretold that someday Skoll and Hati will catch and devour their prey. Bollocks, brother. Respectfully, bollocks. He has to know. He'll never be whole without the truth. She's probably in there planning your demise, brother. That's a long story, but we'll get to it. Tyr's vault is at the bottom of those stairs. Just take them all the way to the bottom. Perfect. Dock us near the bridge. It's true. You wouldn't know it to look at him, but Jormungandr is a sparkling conversationalist. I said he'd plot his revenge, and so he did. Aye, don't be sorry, lad. Sigrun brought this on herself. Only wish... Well, wishing only gets you so far. Well, dangerous fools, to be sure. When they work together, they're formidable. But too often it's a petty competition. Terribly strong, even as children. I remember the time Hrungnir the Brawler fell upon Thor. Though he had robbed the greatest giant killer of his greatest weapon, he offered to trade it back to the Aesir in exchange for Freya as his bride. All right, what say we finish that story? For instance, Odin hates the giants and they him. But Thor's own mother was the giantess Fjorgun, one of Odin's great loves. Yes, bloody oblivion is down there, lad. Please, you're concerning me. Well, not all of them. Not yet. Into the legend of Mimir, the first giant, enter the Aesir gods. Surt the brave, who accepts his fate to perish in Ragnarok. Well, if this is it, lads, it's been an honour. And if the Allfather had wings, he'd be a dragon. And on that dramatic note, we must delay the conclusion of our exciting tale. I can indeed. Where were we? Oh, another Valkyrie. That's no coincidence. But who'd have etched them on Tyr's braziers? We were near the end of Skadi's tale, as the Queen of the Hunt discovered that Odin had tricked her into slaying her own father. Let's just agree to stop saying flip the temple. It's starting to sound normal. So Hrimthur adopted the guise of an ordinary man and made the Aesir an offer. He would build them majestic new walls, and if he couldn't build them within 2 turns of the season, they would owe him nothing for his labours. Take the boat. Freya's isn't far. This is why no one likes you. Aye, same here, if that counts for anything. What she did not know is that Odin himself was behind her husband's disappearance, having used his enchantments to conceal his death at Thor's hands from her sight. And if he succeeded, he asked only for an audience with the goddess Freya. Oughtn't we be getting back to Freya's? It's the name of one of the Valkyries. That's quite curious. Oh, do be careful! We shouldn't delay, brother. It's straight back to Midgard with that heart. Now don't go spreading it around that I speak the snake's tongue. If Odin ever found that out, it'd be dangerous for all concerned. It was about the very giant, Thormur, the great stonemason. Correct. We are still in Midgard. This tower is just a mirror of an identical tower in Vanaheim that exists in this same spot. Here in Midgard, it's just symbolic. We would need to use the realm travel room to get to Vanaheim. Bloody outstanding! On the day that brute force is the answer, I'll be quite happy to be on your side, brother. And we're not dead. That's a plus. Lift with your legs, brother. Gradually, as I grew more to care about people and the world, my job became to contain him. If by safer you mean brutally rip her wings off, then my vote is aye. The sun and moon stood still in defiance, so Odin put the wolf giant Skoll and Hoti to work. Aye, as an augurer she was unsurpassed. Not my proudest moment. On that, brother, you and the Allfather may just agree. Even if he can't prevent Ragnarok, he still hopes to learn enough details to influence the outcome. Remind me later to tell you about the wolves. Where were we then? Oh yes, my first job. Our boy is catching on, isn't he? Oh, no. Valhalla is part of Asgard. Only the worthy dead go there, the warriors who die in glorious combat. Hell is for those who die in dishonour. It was Odin who took arms against his creator and spilled Ymir's lifeblood with his spear. As I said, brother, it's complicated. I don't know why or how they become such wretched creatures, but perhaps if we can free more of them. Retrograde, lads, and we'll just stop there for now. It appears so. I knew old Motsognir was a bit cracked, but that was rather extreme. They took an uncomfortable number of measurements and then proceeded to bicker about the weather. That may be a matter of perspective. Come on, you two. The silence is getting unnerving. I wouldn't want to speculate. Aye. Having learned that travel route to Jotunheim, we can now head back to the gateway on top of the peak and put that magic chisel to good use. Once in a moon, it's been known to happen, yes. A fair question, and yet not one easily answered. I know more than most, but much of their history is veiled in secrecy. My own experience with the Valkyries ends with my imprisonment. And so would Odin's victory have been complete. Incredible! Odin had slain Ymir, and used the primeval giant's flesh to shape the realm of Midgard. And beyond that, hopefully some trace of a secret path to Jotunheim. Broken. Wonder if Modi was somehow able to sever its connection to the World Tree to funnel us here. Odds are there's a bit of magic at play here as well. This is a dwarven stronghold after all. I'm talked out, lad, but someday I imagine I'll be telling your story. I don't know. Like them well enough to cover a massive wall in his vault with them, though. Oh, that was a singular piece of cruelty, even for Odin. Odin slew Ymir, and the torrent of blood threatened to flood all of creation. He always has his reasons. Might I have a look? Well, this is most unexpected. I haven't the foggiest. Isn't that unexpected? Look, clearly that's Tyr, travelling somehow, perhaps magically. But what's that to do with the giants that they should devote a shrine to it? I'm afraid that is none too clear. Not runes. Symbols from different lands. They mean... aye. No doubt signifying the gift of sight the giants granted us. Give me a closer look. Interesting. Very interesting. Secret plans concealed by Tyr so none could access but him, and those few others the giants trusted. And right under Odin's nose. Ho ho ho! I did promise I'd get you to Jotunheim. Don't you see, brother? Odin never gave up hope, and neither should we. He knew there was a clue in here, but we're the ones who found it. These plans are for a key to some chamber Tyr's kept hidden. I don't know where it's leading or what we'll find, but it's a path. I suggest we ask a dwarf. Aye, Jotunheim awaits. This is why no one likes you. A Valkyrie? Here in Muspelheim? Impossible. Evil to whom? Sometimes it all depends where you're standing. Oh, that's plain to see. And Odin is the king of meddlers. But I shudder to think what he did to cause this. Perhaps it involves the Valkyries. That'd be playing a dangerous game indeed. Nothing quite so simple, but I hoped that love might temper him and give us a chance for peace. And with that I cannot argue. I'll just contemplate that little nugget in silence then. It's on the other side of the bridge. Head across, then take the stairs all the way down. It knows what to do. The stone served its purpose. We're fulfilling Tyr's spell. Not just any winter, but a great winter to span 3 summers. And when it's done, Ragnarok begins. Amazing! How do you hide something that exists in all realms? Cast it out of any realm to the space between. Clever old Tyr. Let me guess, there's a Valkyrie in here. Of course. We've spoken so much of frost giants. It's about time we instead met the most fiery giant of all. It's always about control. That is adorable. I think it's gone out. You've a knack for ominous statements, lad. Oh, this is all wrong. Only the newly dead should be here. There's too many. The gate must be closed, and if the gate's closed, then it's true. Hell's full up. Without the Valkyrie to sort and cull them, hell is overwhelmed. Completely understand. Look, there was no easy choice. For anybody, brother. But I think we can all agree you did the right thing. The world's a better place with Freya in it. Just give her time, lads. She'll come around. Surt the Brave and his sword of flame, fated to burn down Asgard come Ragnarok. The snake's already in position, brother. Nothing more to negotiate. Well, you know, I suppose it's cooled considerably since the dawn of creation, hasn't it? Niflheim isn't exactly ice these days either. It's in the nature of things. Extremes are tempered by time. Fires burn colder, men grow old and grey, heads are chopped off and attached to belts. Such is life. You're enjoying this, aren't you? It begins in an ocean of blood. Maybe if that was closer. How's that, brother? Obviously not referring to us. Indeed. He speaks an obscure tongue more ancient even than these mountains. None are left in Midgard who speak it. Except, of course, for me. It's disorienting, isn't it? I strongly suggest not leaping into the void, though. You know, most parents just want their children to get a full night's sleep. Careful, brother. Freya's not here to bring you back if you're cutting too. Oh, I like that one. I wonder if I wrote it. Well, are we going to fight her? There's a trapped spirit in there. Thrym the Cunning sought to ransom Thor's stolen hammer for Freya's hand, presenting Odin with a rare opportunity. But Ymir's kind did not all perish that day. Good fellows they called us, knavish sprites to the last. Ymir, the first giant, had emerged from the void, and every form of life began to spring forth from Ymir. Well, a stealthy plan it is not. Before we return to Midgard, I should warn you, more time has passed than you likely realise. And the snowfall that began when you slew Balder, it's become something else. The stuff of omens. Please hurry! I don't know yet if I can drown! There's an idea, brother. Odin was plotting the downfall of Starkath, the mighty 8-armed giant. Ah, I was going to say void. As long as we maintain this speed and those fires don't go out, we should be there in no time, lad. Freya cannot fight, even to defend herself. It's too bad. I was fond of every giant I ever met. Why don't you tell me how all this began with Balder? He observed that Asgard's walls were half-built and shoddy, for no Aesir god could be bothered with such tiresome labour. Fate's a tricky thing, lad, and Odin's just arrogant enough to think he can get the best of it. Extraordinary! The whole room is built on some kind of axle. I don't know, lad. A lot's changed since we last crossed paths. I had legs. Try placing one of the Valkyrie helms on a throne. You did it! You sealed all 3 of the realm tears. How do you feel? It's the name of one of the Valkyries. That's quite curious. Look, small passages on either side. Perfect for the boy. It was about the Queen of the Hunt, who rejected Odin's romantic advances, causing him to vow revenge. Aye, it's a side I'm sure few live to witness. That's no surprise. Every god is unique. We were speaking of Surt the Brave, the fire giant. Someone who loved the Valkyries enough to do this? I wonder. Perhaps the Queen? Remember the room with the 8 thrones? Once Fjorgun was gone, lonely ages passed for Odin. And as war with the Vanir raged, I could see what he really wanted beneath his bluster. Well, that hasn't stopped you before, eh? Odin. He saw a kindred spirit in Olrun's single-minded pursuit of knowledge. He appointed her as the Valkyrie's resident historian. He's more than harmed. The spell is broken. Say, we make a pretty good team. Brothers, there's another thing I must let you know. From the time you were away in Jotunheim, Odin agreed, knowing the task was impossible, but intrigued by this stranger. Your guess is as good as mine, little brother. Smiling, jealous Odin took her by the throat, and with his very hands he stole her library and her life for his own. Perhaps this isn't about speed at all. Is there someplace else the winds can go? Intertwined, yes. Well, it is a realm of primordial fire. If it weren't a little balmy, I'd be concerned. If the giants ever had anything so organised as an army, Starkath would have been their general. An opinion, in retrospect, I should have kept to myself. Just having a little fun, you big grump. Didn't think we'd be hunting down Valkyries at the time, brother. This is Odin's. I'd recognise his atrocious taste anywhere. Aye, beautiful, seductive sprites of the forest. Relieved of 6 arms and too much blood, Starkath perished upon the battlefield. I regret it to this day, you know. I told myself there was nothing I could do, but I wish I'd tried. Can't say for sure what he saw that led him to try gouging out his own eyes, but I managed to restrain him before he finished the job. Then Thor shows up. And does he laugh? Oh, no. And so a stranger from a far-off island found himself with Odin's ear, trusted as he trusted no one but himself, back under his palm. We're almost there. Don't you have a shield? What good's a shield if you're not going to use it? Nightmares, ugh! What awful pests! These have always given me the willies. You're rather skilled with those. Incredible! Happy to be on your side, brother. Axe behind you! Axe behind you, brother! Well, that's new. Oh, chilly. Good thing you've got the beard to keep you warm. That really does sting. Now that's unpleasant. Enemy on the left. Enemy to the left. Target on the left. Enemy behind you. Enemy at your back. Enemy on your right. Enemy to the right. Target on the right. Behind you. Heavy Draugr. Heavy Draugr behind you. Left side. Heavy Draugr. Heavy Draugr on your left. Right side. Heavy Draugr. Heavy Draugr on your right. Brother, you're on fire, brother. Ah, yes. Seether poison. Not a fan. You're on fire, Kratos. Phew, that's warm. Does that hurt? At all? Well, this is a fine mess. Aye, that's just perfect. So that's it then. Brother, get up, brother. Brother, no. Come on, get up, brother. What if you tried something else? That doesn't seem to be working, brother. Don't think that's going to cut it. Have you considered another tactic? Perhaps you should try something else. Good one, lad. Fire from the left. Fire left flank. Fire left side. Left flank incoming. Fire behind you. Fire from behind. Fire at your back. Behind you. Incoming. Fire from the right! Fire right flank! Fire right side! Right flank! Incoming! Oop, sorry I missed that one. I can't see the front ones, brother. You're on your own with the frontal attacks, brother. On your left! Left side! Left flank! Watch your left! Left side, brother! Behind you! Behind you! Watch out! Behind you! Look out! From behind! Watch your back! Look out! Behind you! Behind you, brother! Ah! On your right! Right side! Right flank! Watch your right! Right side, brother! You are one vicious son of a bitch. Impressive. Nicely done. Good show. Glad I'm on your side. You two make quite a formidable duo. That's showing him. Aye, give him what for. The apple doesn't fall far. You okay, brother? Hang in there, brother. Find some health. Oh, I felt that one, brother. How's it going on your end? You handled yourself okay back there? How's everything going, brother? Sounds like you've got a handle on everything back there. You've done all this before, haven't you? Well, this is certainly more interesting than being stuck in a tree. Are we currently in much danger? I can't tell from back here. I wish I could see what's happening out there. I bet it's entertaining at the very least. Can I do anything to help? All right, I'm a severed head on a belt. Give him hell, brother. Oof! Hey! Whoa! More behind you, brother. More behind you. A few extra to deal with back here. You missed some back here. Oh, good. More creatures. More just showed up back here. More to the left. Left side, brother. More of them. More on your left. Another wave on the left. More to the right. Right side. More of them. More on your right, brother. Another wave on the right. Beacon behind you, brother. Beacon behind you. Beacon to your left. Beacon on the left, brother. Beacon on your right. Beacon to your right, brother. Dark elf behind you, brother. Dark elf behind you. Dark elf to the left. Dark elf on your left, brother. Dark elf on your right. Dark elf to the right, brother. Draugr behind you, brother. Draugr behind you. Draugr to the left. Draugr on your left, brother. Draugr on your right. Draugr to the right, brother. Hell Reaver behind you, brother. Hell Reaver behind you. Hell Reaver to the left. Hell Reaver on your left, brother. Hell Reaver on your right. Hell Reaver to the right, brother. Hell Shadow behind you, brother. Hell Shadow behind you. Hell Shadow to the left. Hell Shadow on your left, brother. Hell Shadow on your right. Hell Shadow to the right, brother. Hell Beacon behind you, brother. Hell Beacon behind you. Hell Beacon to the left. Hell Beacon on your left, brother. Hell Beacon on your right. Hell Beacon to the right, brother. Nightmare behind you, brother. Nightmare behind you. Nightmare to the left. Nightmare on your left, brother. Nightmare on your right. Nightmare to the right, brother. Ogre behind you, brother. Ogre behind you. Ogre to the left. Ogre on your left, brother. Ogre on your right. Ogre to the right, brother. Reaver behind you, brother. Reaver behind you. Reaver to the left. Reaver on your left, brother. Reaver on the right. Reaver to your right, brother. Revenant behind you, brother. Revenant behind you. Revenant to your left. Revenant to your left, brother. Revenant on your right. Revenant to your right, brother. Revenant to your right, brother. Shadow behind you, brother. Shadow behind you. Shadow to your left. Shadow on the left, brother. Shadow on your right. Shadow to your right, brother. Tatzelworm behind you, brother. Tatzelworm behind you. Tatzelworm to the left. Tatzelworm on your left, brother. Tatzelworm on your right. Tatzelworm to the right, brother. Troll behind you, brother. Troll behind you. Troll to the left. Troll on your left, brother. Troll on your right. Troll to the right, brother. Wolf behind you, brother. Wolf behind you. Wolf to the left. Wolf on your left, brother. Wolf on your right. Wolf to the right, brother. Wolver behind you, brother. Wolver behind you, brother. Wolver behind you. Wolver to the left. Wolver on your left, brother. Wolver on your right. Wolver to the right, brother. Have I told you the one about the nightmare and the ogre? I have an interesting story about this place. Would you like to hear it? Ah, Ratatusker. Interesting story there. He once... Wolvers. Such tragic creatures. Did you know they were... Stunned enemy, behind you! This one's hurting back here! There's an injured one back here! Stunned enemy, back here! Injured enemy, behind you! There's a hurt one back here, brother! Hurt one behind you! Injured one back here! Brother, the boy's down! The boy's down! Brother, your son's down! Your son's hurt! The boy's hurt! The boy needs a pick-me-up! Brother, the boy! The boy needs help! They've got your boy! Your son needs you, brother! The boy, he needs help! Your boy could use a hand! Don't you two have more important business to take care of? We've lingered a bit too long here, eh? We spent rather a long time here. Don't we have things to do? Far be it from me to tell you where to go, but shouldn't we continue on our journey? Well, I felt my duty to Odin had evolved. Oh, remind me to tell you that story. I suppose that's one way to put it. Back when Ymir first emerged from Ginnungagop, it was Surt who followed next. He came from Muspelheim, the fire realm, bringing heat to the young cosmos, conjuring the sun from his primordial flame. Well, let's come back to that flaming sword, shall we? Odin didn't want Freya, a Vanir goddess, getting credit for anything in Asgard, so anything worthy she accomplished was attributed to Frigg. Odin didn't want Freya, a Vanir goddess, getting credit for anything in Asgard, so anything worthy she accomplished was attributed to Frigg. That refers to a modest example of Odin's thirst for knowledge, the time he spent 9 days a dead man. hung himself by the neck from Yggdrasil's branches, put his spear through his own side, and bled down into the Well of Destiny. He roamed the realms of the dead and plundered the world tree of its secrets, until I think quite rightly it got fed up with him and sent him back to the land of the living. Did I not mention he was barking mad? That refers to a modest example of Odin's thirst for knowledge, the time he spent 9 days a dead man. Aye. Hung himself by the neck from Yggdrasil's branches, put his spear through his own side, and bled down into the Well of Destiny. He roamed the realms of the dead and plundered the world tree of its secrets, until I think quite rightly it got fed up with him and sent him back to the land of the living. Did I not mention he was barking mad? That would explain the hefty magical lock on the outside. Ah, Gondul. Beautiful Gondul. Ah, Gondul. Beautiful Gondul. From behind! From behind! From behind! Turn around! Turn around! Turn around! There! 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 Here he comes! Here he comes! Behind you! He's behind you!